Nobody wakes up expecting to hear on the radio that World War III just kicked off. But that's how history tends to go. No warning, no script, just chaos knocking at the front door. All it takes is a spark in the wrong place, a twitchy trigger, finger, and suddenly everything you thought was normal turns to dust. The scary part? Even with satellites, drones, and AI, the fear bubbling under the surface today feels just like what our grandparents faced in 1939. It's like time forgot to move on, only the weapons changed. You ever notice how, during a crisis, people stock up on toilet paper but forget food, water, self-defense? Kinda backwards, right? Meanwhile, sitting in dusty closets and old wooden boxes, there's something that once stood between life and death on real battlefields. It doesn't need batteries, apps, or firmware updates, just a steady grip and sharp instinct. And now, believe it or not, this blade is making a serious comeback. Headlines are screaming, alliances are crumbling. It's the kind of moment where the unprepared get left behind. And that's when people stop scrolling and start remembering tools, principles, even weapons that worked when the world lost its mind. Sometimes, to survive modern chaos, you need something forged in an older one. So, why are people suddenly scrambling to find this one very specific combat knife from the 60s? There's a strange trend happening. What was once old school is now battle-ready again. As the world teeters on the edge, people aren't just looking forward. They're digging into the past, rediscovering gear that was built for one job. Survival. It's not nostalgia. It's survival instinct. Soldiers, preppers, even special forces units are turning back to tools that earned respect in real combat, not in marketing meetings. These aren't museum pieces. They're battle-tested. Icons making a comeback for a reason. Modern gear looks impressive, sure. Lots of plastic, fancy coatings, flashy names. But when things get messy, reliability beats aesthetics every time. That's why you're seeing combat veterans swap out high-tech for hard steel. They want something that's seen dirt, blood, and fire and didn't quit. Gear like the Gerber Mark II isn't just a relic. It's a reminder of what works when everything else fails. This isn't just about knives either. It's a mindset shift. People are grabbing MREs instead of energy bars, crank radios over Bluetooth speakers, analog compasses instead of GPS apps. They're realizing the future might look a lot like the past if the grid goes down. And in that reality, only the tools that stood the test of time will matter. So what made this one combat knife so legendary, and so feared? Back in 1966, when the Vietnam War was tearing through jungles and headlines, a knife was born that didn't ask questions. It just did the job. The Gerber Mark II wasn't designed for show. It was created for soldiers who walked into darkness and didn't know if they'd walk back out. With its double-edged blade and dagger-like design, it wasn't some utility multi-tool. It was a weapon, plain and simple. Soldiers didn't just carry it. They trusted it with their lives. Its silhouette, inspired by ancient Roman short swords. Its balance, engineered for lightning-fast response and deep penetration. It became infamous among enemies and legendary among the men who wielded it. So much so that, at one point, the US military tried to ban it. Too lethal, too aggressive, too honest. And that's exactly why warriors kept it close. Because in real combat, you don't want a safe tool. You want something that gets the job done. What's wild is how its reputation survived long after the war. Veterans passed them down. Collectors hunted them like buried treasure. And now, in a world bracing for new conflicts, the Gerber Mark II is rising from the ashes, not as a symbol of violence, but of readiness. It wasn't made to sit in a display case. It was made to be drawn when things go bad. But how does it hold up against today's modern survival knives? On paper, modern survival knives seem unbeatable: carbon coatings, serrated edges, even fire. Starters built into the handle. But when things get real, simple often wins. The Gerber Mark II doesn't pretend to be a jack of all trades. It's a master of one. Controlled, deadly precision. No gimmicks, no fluff. Just a blade designed to go in, do damage, and survive the mission, just like the soldier holding it. Where modern knives tend to compromise for versatility, the Mark II commits to purpose. Its double-edged blade allows for both slashing and thrusting without hesitation. Its slim profile means faster draw, deeper cuts, and less drag when it matters most. Even its handle is built for wet, dirty, bloody conditions, when grit is the difference between life and death. While modern, knives feel like tools. The Mark II feels like an extension of your hand. That's what makes it different. It wasn't made for wilderness camping. It was made for war zones, for brutal hand-to-hand combat, for when your sidearm fails and your training kicks in. And in a modern world where chaos doesn't knock, it kicks the door in that kind of reliability matters. So when comparing specs on a screen, sure, the new guys look shiny. But out there, when it's you versus panic, you'll want the blade that's already proven itself again and again. And that proof? It shows up in the hands of some very serious people. Talk to anyone who's been there, really been there, and you'll hear it straight. The Gerber Mark II wasn't just issued, it was earned. Veterans who carried it during covert ops in Southeast Asia still speak about it with reverence, like a trusted friend who never let them down. One Green Beret once said, "I didn't feel dressed without it." That's not marketing. That's muscle memory forged in adrenaline and grit. It wasn't about style, it was survival. Even today, you'll find former operators and trainers keeping a Mark II in their personal stash. Why? Because it's not theoretical. It's tested, blood-tested. In side-by-side comparisons, this blade doesn't just hold its own, it dominates. Cutting tests, stabbing penetration, even under pressure scenarios, the Mark II slices through expectations like butter. It's not just sharper, it's smarter. Built for instinctive combat mechanics, not over-engineered functions no one uses when panic hits. And then there's the footage, the drills, the stress tests, the testimonials captured by enthusiasts, preppers, and combat instructors. The kind of stuff that never makes it to Hollywood, but circulates in tight-knit circles that understand the difference between tactical and tactical. These are the people prepping for tomorrow by respecting what worked yesterday. And in the middle of all that respect sits a knife that refuses to die. So naturally, demand for it has skyrocketed. If you've tried to get your hands on a real Gerber Mark II lately, you already know it ain't easy. The originals? Nearly gone. The few still in circulation are clutched tightly by collectors, veterans, or serious preppers who wouldn't trade them for anything short of gold. And when one pops up online, the price jumps faster than ammo after a government press conference. We're talking hundreds, sometimes thousands depending on condition, serial number, and whether it still whispers that scent of battlefield sweat. That scarcity isn't just about age, it's about timing. As world tensions rise, more people are waking up to the idea that being prepared isn't paranoia, it's common sense. And suddenly, old gear like the Mark II is being hunted like rare treasure, not just as a collector's item, but as a legitimate tool of survival. A lot of folks are starting to realize, in a world obsessed with new tech, it's the old-school weapons that might end up saving your skin. And here's the kicker: Gerber did release some reissues and commemorative editions, but they don't hit the same. The steel's different, the soul's missing, and the veterans can feel it. That's why original Mark IIs are being snatched up faster than you can say civil unrest. The value isn't just monetary, it's symbolic. A physical reminder that real preparedness isn't found in trends, but in timeless function. And in a true SHTF moment, you're going to want something you can count on. So, how exactly would a knife like this hold up in a WW3 scenario? Imagine the grid goes down, cities fall silent, and chaos spreads like wildfire. In moments like these, fancy gadgets won't save you. What you need is raw reliability. The Gerber Mark II, with its razor-sharp blade and no-nonsense design, becomes more than a knife. It's a lifeline. It's the kind of tool you trust when every second counts, when survival isn't about comfort, but pure instinct. Picture yourself in the middle of this storm, and the Mark II by your side, cutting through whatever stands between you and safety. Urban warfare, wilderness escapes, close quarters defense. The Mark II fits every scenario like a glove. It's double-edged. Blade excels at swift, precise moves, whether you're clearing debris or defending against threats. No bulky gadgets, no gimmicks, just clean, effective design that's been proven in brutal conditions. It's a reminder that sometimes the simplest tools are the deadliest, especially when the world turns upside down and modern conveniences disappear. But beyond its physical utility, the Mark II carries a legacy, a psychological edge. Holding. It connects you to generations who faced darkness and came out alive. It's a symbol of preparedness, resilience, and readiness. When things get rough, that mental boost can mean the difference between freezing up and acting decisively. So, if you're serious about surviving the unknown, it's time to ask yourself, is your survival kit ready for a world on the brink? When the storm hits, being prepared isn't just about having gear. It's about having the right gear, the kind that won't fail you when you need it most. The Gerber Mark II isn't just a knife. It's a mindset, a symbol of readiness forged in fire and real combat. If you're watching this, maybe it's time to stop thinking, that won't happen to me, and start thinking, what if it does? Because when chaos comes knocking, hesitation can be deadly. Building your survival kit means choosing tools that have stood the test of time. That means water filtration systems, reliable fire starters, and yes, the right blade for defense and utility. It's not about hoarding. It's about responsibility. Ask yourself, do you really trust the gear in your backpack? Or are you relying on marketing buzz and trends? The Mark II teaches us that sometimes simplicity and proven durability beat flashy bells and whistles every single time. So, what's next for you? Will you wait for disaster to strike and scramble? Or will you prepare like those who came before us? Drop a comment below. What's your take on the Mark II? Would you add a classic combat knife to your kit? And don't forget to hit subscribe and ring that notification bell so you won't miss the next deep dive into survival gear that actually works. Because when the world changes overnight, you want to be ready.